Relax, the keyboard is off and the press box is closed, but the mic is just getting warmed up. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Ink, the show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. Join your host, Lance Green, the guardian of the blue paint turned writer, and co-host SteelFlyers, as we bring you all the latest on the Philadelphia Flyers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hockey Writers Ink with your host, Mr. Lance Green.
How are you guys? All right, Steel? Always a pleasure.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, man. How you doing? How you doing?
I am doing just dandy. I'm ready to talk some Flyers here. I've had some pretty good games.
I'll say, and I'll tell you what, man, we're here to talk some Philadelphia Flyers because we are the Hockey Writers Ink from the SteelFlyers All Sports Network, brought to you by SteelFlyers.com. The Hockey Writers Ink is a Philadelphia Flyers-centric podcast brought to you by Lance Green and yours truly, SteelFlyers. So, Mr. Green, we got some good games. We were in first place there for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. I don't know about you, man, but don't look now, but this team has some talent. This team has
Well,
some want to. This team has some grind. This team has some put it together. This team has some play for 60 minutes potentially going on here, man. What do you think?
well, I think it all started, last season with Torts coming in. Torts last year had this team ready to go, and they had a pretty good start last season as well.
Sure did.
They're in shape. They're in shape. They're ready to go. Game one, there was no delay or getting it going. They were ready, and the same thing this year
Yeah.
has going on. But this season, we do have Cam Atkinson back. We have certain Sean Couture back in the lineup as well, so that always helps. But they're kind of standing their true test and what they said they wanted to become. They wanted to become a little tougher to play against, and you know, Torts preached that last year, and Keith Jones and Danny Briere kind of preached that coming in this year as well. And with the signings that they did, some B level free agents that we brought in, and Ryan Poling and Mark Stahl and some of these other guys that we acquired through the trades, like Sean Walker. Um, you know, and Hathaway, of course, is
Yeah, okay.
amazing player. I think
Yeah.
he should have been a Flyer from day one. I mean, he's his destiny. I think he just plays that Philadelphia brand of hockey that we've missed
Yeah.
and longed for a while, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So the team does look better. Overall, it looks better. Are they going to be able to sustain it? We talked about last week with my article that I put out and saying that, Tort has the Flyers off to a good start, but the true test may be right around the corner. And these past couple of games for the Flyers have kind of proved that.
We in that test.
We're in the middle of that test, right? I mean, you look at the Oilers, and the Flyers came out and beat them 4-1, and that's pretty darn amazing. They were right in the game with the Stars, went into overtime, of course, and they lost in overtime 5-4. Very close game with yet another playoff team. And Tuesday, they lost a hard fought one to the Golden Knights, the Stanley Cup champions, right? 3-2. So this team is playing right now, and they're well underway as we record this right now. They're up 2-0 over the Wild right
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
So
yeah.
kudos to them, of course, and they're playing. They're in games. They're proving that they're not going to be just some team that all these other teams from around the league just come in and walk over, right?
It's not an
So
easy win.
are they going to be a playoff team? It's way early to tell. Bumps and bruises over the season, whatever else. It's way early to tell.
Already
But you
there.
gotta you gotta like what you're seeing right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll tell you what, Lance, I think you touched on everything that we want to talk about in the show tonight. You touched on all the great things that I think that what this Flyers team is really doing here. And folks, we're gonna really jam into it here with this episode tonight. It's episode number 143, and it's just basically Flyers weathering the storm. Okay, and just like you mentioned in the opening, where the Flyers, well, it started with the Edmonton game, and then the Vancouver. See, I think it started with the Vancouver game, because that game, I think people were thinking that that was going to be that game where the Flyers would potentially lose that game, and they didn't. Right, and they played really, really well. Okay, now yes, I understand that they lost to the Stars, but that was only because it was in overtime. That game was back and forth all the way through. That was a
Never really do good in overtime right now. That's a thing we got to work on.
okay,
Overtime and shootouts. Yeah,
okay, right. So there's a couple of things that the Flyers still need to work on,
for
but
sure.
for the most part, Dallas
Mhm.
playoff team probably gonna be a playoff team again this year with the group of players that they have, goaltending, blah blah blah. So for them to do that and hang with Dallas, that to and held McDavid off the score sheet. Okay, that in of itself is impressive. That in of itself shows that exactly what you pointed out, Lance, that Torts has this team ready to rock and roll right out of the gates. Okay? And just like you pointed out in your article last week, we're now into that test period. We're now playing those teams now, like Dallas, like Vegas, like Wild, like Vancouver. We're starting to play those teams now that are going to test the Flyers. And we still got some tough games coming up, too. You know, just because we're playing the Wild, that doesn't mean anything. You know, the next couple games, Carolina's on the docket. You know what I'm saying? That's going to be
Yeah.
tough, right? So, but I also have to say, and this is something that nobody else is talking about, and that is the play of Carter Hart. As much maligned as we have been against this young goaltender over the past couple of years, not only did he post a shutout, which is only his sixth one of his career, but he looked amazing doing it, right? And here's the big difference, I think, this year. Instead of getting those point blank shots right from the top of the circle in, or point blank right from the front of the crease, like they've been doing, and giving up 30, 40 shots a game, you know, that's kind of tough to go against on a nightly basis. But now the Flyers are out shooting teams. They're holding teams to minimal shots on goal, where Carter Hart sits back there for long periods of time without having anything to do.
That's a blessing and a curse if you're a goalie too. I
Right.
mean, you like not being pelted with shots, but at the same time, you want enough to keep you
You
involved in
know,
the
right.
game. But I'll agree, Steele. I like what I've seen from Carter Hart so far. I think last year as well, he started off pretty good. So his mental fortitude is going to be hard pressed to prove himself that he can stay on this type game for the whole season. And I don't think it's happened before. I think he, as a young kid, obviously he's had the hills and valleys for sure throughout the season, as pretty much any goaltender does. But keeping those distances from your heights and how long you stay in that holler or that valley down there is going to be the true test to how good a goaltender you're going to be that season, and what kind of numbers you're going to have, because you got to be able to let a game go and come back the next night and be able to start and be able to be competitive for your team again. And so far this season, through 5 games completed, obviously, like we said, they're still playing the Wild game as we film this, but um, you know, 2-2-1. goals against average, 923 save percentage. Much, much better. What we want to see, not over 3 goals a game. That's a big, big difference.
Huge.
If you're holding a team to 2 goals rather than 3, and especially with this Flyers team not really having a superstar, obviously an Ovechkin or Crosby or Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl or anybody of that kind of realm
Bedard.
of Bernard, yeah, whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it, whoever is your guy to put in that. We don't have that, but what we do have is the players that are supposed to be playing. Your Travis Konechny's, right? He's got 5 goals in 6 games. I think he's got another one as we film this right now. So 6 goals right now. Your Cam Atkinson has 4 goals on the season before this wild game started, and Sean Couturier has got some points there. But above everything else, Steele, what I really want to bring up and what I'm working on an article right now, and I'll let you guys in on it. But if you look up and down this roster, you see plus players. Okay, you see plus players, and a lot of people throw that stat to the wind,
Not
but
us.
not us,
Not
right?
us.
I'm old. I'm old school goaltender, but even the younger guys,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a Igor Zumala, right? You see, he's a +6 right now.
Man, has
All
he been
right,
impressive?
right. A +5 in Nick Seeler. So the guys you wouldn't even expect to be solid, bringing you the most solid defense, are bringing it right now, right? Nick Seeler's been tough. He always is physical. He plays either side of the ice. He scraps. Obviously, you've seen him, with that fight, a hard fought fight.
I know, that was great.
And it's coming from the young guys. A lot of it is Joel Farabee a +4, Bobby Brink a +4. This is what you want to see from your younger guys. Really bringing it, and it brings a question there to when the Flyers really did the Flyers management really look at this, because you look at who they exited. They got rid of Tony DeAngelo's contract. That was a team worst -27 last year, and for the Hurricanes he's a -6 already this year, right? Who's not playing right now? Uh, Ristolainen, as much as I like how physical he is, he's a career
See,
-176.
see, I was gonna
All
bring
right,
that. I was gonna bring that
let's
up.
let's yeah, let's talk about that. You know what I mean? He's been out for most of the games. This season,
He
all
hasn't
of them.
played at all. He hasn't played at
Yeah,
all yet.
at all this season. So, you know, a -176. It's amazing how the team's winning games and staying competitive when they don't have a guy like that out on the ice. A lot of that, of course, was with Buffalo, but I mean, let's face it, he was,
His 2 years
a
here in
minus.
Philly, yeah.
He was a minus player for Philly as well. Not quite as bad, obviously, but who else is not in the lineup right now? Morgan Frost. Morgan Frost is a minus for his career, a -27. All right, let's get the naysayers and the Morgan Frost lovers into this conversation. But yes, he scored 19 goals on the year last year, 46 points, great. But he was also a -12 last season. So as many points as he put up, as many goals as he put up, he was still out on the ice when they allowed more. So that is a thing that I think everybody likes to brush off this stat, but it's a team stat. It's a this or that. No, you're part of that team. You're out on the ice when that other team scored. That is a problem. All right. And
Yeah.
until you get focus, the focus from Torts and everything, you got to be as good as defensively responsible as you are offensively. And the people that are getting the chance to play in the lineup right now, and the Morgan Frosts of the world are not. And this is a big deal, and something that more teams need to focus on, because you can be a 150-point player like a Connor McDavid, but if you're out there for 200, not that he is, but if you're out there for 200 goals when the other team scores, you're not doing anything to help the team.
I mean,
All right.
it's yeah. I get you, and I'm with you.
If the team is scoring more goals, the other team is scoring more goals, they're going to win more games, and that's just the gist of it. And of course, it breaks down to more than that, but at the end of the day, you got to be defensively responsible. I don't know,
So,
Steele. What do you think?
so what I think about this whole thing is that there are younger players that are playing better than him. There are younger players that are capable, more capable on the face-off dot. There are younger players that are more capable of being defensively responsible. Look, I'm not trying to take anything away from Morgan Frost. Would I like to see the kid succeed and play? Yeah. But the fact of the matter is this, that he is a center. And in order for have him be in to play his position at center, you would have to disrupt all the other lines with the exception of the fourth line and the first line in order to accommodate him to play center. Okay? And I really don't think that that is a good move for the team because I like Lawton at center way better than I like him at wing because he's better at faceoffs, okay? And I just think that that's his natural position. That's where he should be playing, okay? And the problem is that Frost isn't quite as good as a winger as he is as a centerman. So
Right.
there's younger players that are playing better wingers. So you're not going to get a guy who's a centerman playing wing when you have a guy who is a winger who can play wing. You know what so
Well,
that's kind of what it breaks down to because now you don't want to. You got four guys right now, right down your center line that are just right for what's going on with this team right now.
Well, Steele, it's like I said in my article a couple of weeks ago, and I kind of predicted this and wished this to happen, actually. In my article, why the best offense for the Flyers this year may be a good defense.
Yeah.
And, in that a couple of shows ago, we talked about this. These plus players should be the ones in the lineup right now. You can't tell me that Sean Couturier, Scott Lawton, Noah Cates, and Ryan Poling. I can't find a team that has a better four players down the middle, better defensively responsible than those four collectively. I can't. And that's maybe why they built this team this way. Scott Lawton, in my mind, did the team a favor when they didn't have wings, just like Claude Giroux did. They moved
Yeah.
they moved them both to wing because they didn't have any left wings, and they did okay out there. But they're natural centermen. I get Giroux's a little bit older, and maybe that's why you moved him out there. So it didn't. But the face-off win percentage is up. Obviously, nobody saw Noah Cates transferring a year or two ago. Nobody saw Noah Cates really taking over the center position. I mean, heck, he was a wing. But it grew on him. He's learned it. He's darn good at it. Let's say that defensively. You look at it. Couturier, Lawton, and Cates are +2 before this game started tonight. You know and Poling's a even. He's 0. So you can see that it's solid, and the Lions look very comfortable with these guys. Scott Lawton is a phenomenal pressure guy on the forecheck, and I think it's much better for him to do it from that position to bang bodies in the boards and get the puck out in their own offensive zone. I've just really, really like how this team's set up, and I, talked about it in an article a couple of weeks ago, and threw so many facts out there as far as plus players and penalty killing situations, how bad they were, and on the PP as well, it's still struggling, but everything. You look at the goaltenders' numbers are up because these guys are defensively responsible, right? It plays into every factor and every stat of this game.
Perfect point. Yep.
And that's exactly what this article went into in detail on how I think the team would be so much better if they figure out something to do with Frost, or potentially, I don't want to move him back to wing, but if he's not going to play, if they're still going to have him on the team and can't find a trade for him, as kind of rumors are going around, and we can get to that in a second, but Lawton needs to play center, and that's final. He just needs to play center.
all day
And
long.
the team is showing that right now. The benefits from him playing center and Noah Cates and Ryan Poling and having, Coots back, of course. The team looks good. They're involved in every game. They're into the last minute of play in every game. And the fans are staying in the stands. It's not people leaving in the second period because they're getting blown out by 2 or 3 goals, right? This is hockey. This is until we get that superstar talent that can score 2 or 3 goals a night. This is how they need to play games. And if Morgan Frost is not going to be in that lineup, if Ristolainen, if the team is better without Ristolainen in this lineup, then so be it. As far as I'm concerned.
So, man, you touched on some really, really excellent points, man, that I think we really need to kind of go over a little bit more in detail. One thing I would like to point out about why I think this team has improved so drastically, and we talked about it even with Jimmy. We've talked about it in your articles. You've written about it. The return of Sean Couturier and the return of Cam Atkinson has drastically changed the landscape of this team. Not
As it
having
as it should, yeah.
Yeah, not having those two guys on the team last year and now having them on the team this year. It's just like you said, the face-off win percentage has gone up drastically. The Flyers now have a guy who can take the face-offs in the defensive zone, or during the PK or whatever. We didn't have that last year. There wasn't that guy that could step in there like that. Giroux can't be in there for every face-off, and he was gone at the trade deadline. So, I mean, what are you supposed to do? You got to have some people in there that can do that. Do you know what I'm saying? So, having Sean Couturier back and Cam Atkinson back has been a huge shot in the arm for this team, and I think that is one of the main reasons why we're not seeing players like Frost, why we're not missing players like Frost, because I think you're seeing a much improved game by Tyson Forster. I think you're seeing a huge improved game by Bobby Brink, right? And I really like that Couturier, Brink, and Farabee line. As far as I'm concerned, that's hot stuff, right? And I love the combinations that are going on right now with how they've integrated the talent in this team. Okay? And I've been really impressed with especially Tyson Forster, especially Bobby Brink. Been really impressed with that. Been really impressed with Zamula, who has just been making play. He looks like an NHL defenseman out there. He just does. Okay? I don't think there's that, like Ronnie Attard needs a little bit more seasoning or something. I think Zamula is there. I think he's ready.
Well, and that's the thing I wanted to touch on too. I think these guys, the coach mainly, got it. Like right, like Emil Andre, is second round pick, right? And he's looked okay, but he recently got sent down. But they sent down the right guy, right? Not held to a standard just because of where they were drafted.
Right.
Zumala has been the better player this season for the Flyers, and he stayed in the lineup. They didn't send him down so they could keep up the higher draft pick guy with more prestige around him. Zumala is playing, and the thing that I can tell you, I've been a big Zumala fan for a long time. I've seen him in the training camps and everything, shutting down these guys that are NHL roster players for years, but he has never really been given a solid chance to play more than a game or two here and a game or two there to
Yeah.
get his feet wet in the NHL. And honestly, I think he was ready really last year. His play, sometimes a person's play is better suited for a higher level than the current they're in. If this makes sense at all, you'll see this in baseball and everything else too. A guy can hit a fastball. He's gonna do better in the MLB because they're throwing harder, right? Just it happens. It happens. Some of these guys elevate their games when they're promoted to a high level play. And I think that's what you're seeing from a Bobby Brink. A Bobby Brink is a setup man. Um, you know, down in the Phantoms last season, he was banged up a little bit, but he generally was a guy that had no real finisher besides maybe Tyson Forrester there at the Phantoms level, a true finisher that he could pass the puck to. But darn if he doesn't have some talent in the NHL, right? And now you're seeing the old Bobby Brink that you've seen in University of Denver, where he led the nation in points because he had some pretty darn amazing talent on that team that won the national championship.
And I say that Sean Couturier and Joel Farabee is pretty
Right.
good talent to play with.
Right, and you see that again, and that knowledge that Torts has to put him up there, to put him with the best talent they got on the team right now, and it's benefiting, from that. Who I'd really like to see get going, maybe moved around in some lines, are Owen Tippett and Tyson Forster. While Tyson Forster has kind of looked snake bitten, he's got some chances. He's skating. Um, I'd rather see him play with somebody else that can really get him the puck and maybe get those chances. I don't know. I would love to see both if we got both of those guys going where Owen Tippett was last season and where Tyson Forrester looked last season as well when he came
Yeah,
up with
with
the
the
Flyers and
Phantoms.
was
Yeah.
was was just playing on all cylinders for those 7-8 games that he came up last season. We're going to be winning these games against the Minnesota Wilds, the Dallas Stars, and all that. And obviously throughout the season, not everybody's going to be going in at the same time. But from what I see from these first couple games, I like they're making the right decisions in the lineup. Um, they're making the right decisions on who to keep up and who to send down. And, I really like the lines. The first line's really moving. The fourth line has been great. Um, that defensive centers, like we talked about, is really working in all facets of the game. It's working. I would like to see their face-off percentage from this year come up a little bit. It's not the best this season, but far better than where it's been, previously for sure. I'm sure they're going to get that going as well. But, Carter Hart's look better in all facets of the game. I don't think anybody would have thought they've been doing this well through this many games, especially with the test that they've had with Edmonton, with the Golden Knights, with the Stars, and coming up with
Vancouver and
Carolina, so
Carolina coming up.
Vancouver and all that. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So very very pleased. Want to see this team not fall off and like they did last year from that hot start they had, and then obviously the train wreck the rest of the season. But who knows? We'll see. But Steele, what do you think about this? Let's touch this Morgan Frost thing here. He's obviously sat out for the reasons that we said, and maybe more behind the scenes. He's fallen out of favor with John Tortorella. I don't think that he was really in favor with Danny Briere, per se. Obviously, the team signed him out of necessity and a depth situation because you don't know with Sean Couturier's health and the past few seasons and if he was going to stay healthy and all that. And obviously, you didn't want to lose him for nothing. But there's been some trade chatter lately.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. See, Bobby Brink has stepped into that role that Morgan Frost was supposed to fill.
Right.
And that's just the reality of it, okay? I'm not trying to be mean or rude, but the reality of it is that they wanted Morgan Frost to be able to be that kind of player that Bobby Brink is. And Bobby Brink is just got the chemistry, just got the whatever you want to call it, that Frost doesn't. Okay. Now I was never a proponent of him even being re-signed with this team because I thought his prove it deal wasn't really all that worth it,
Right.
and I didn't feel that the team should have wasted the time and money on him. I can kind of understand why they did because of Couturier's health, because of Cam Atkinson's health. You need to have some of those depth centers and things of that nature. So now herein lies the problem. He's a depth center because, unfortunately, the guys that are younger than him are playing better than him and are in the lineup instead of him. So now you're kind of stuck because, well, you paid this guy now for 2 years, right? Now what? Right? Yeah, I might maybe not need him now. Do you know what I'm saying? So do you trade him? Because you can't send him down because he
Right.
only has a one-way contract. You'd have to put him on waivers.
Yeah, he would surely get picked
And,
up. Yeah.
and I'm just going to say that. If you put him on waivers, I guarantee you somebody's going to snatch him up. And
Yeah.
then that means that just leaves the Flyers out in the cold again.
Right. Yeah, like I said, you needed him the past 2 seasons. Sean Couturier's health was, of course, lacking there. He's missed most of both of those seasons, and Kevin Hayes was injured, and I think that Morgan Frost was benefited from playing with much more talented players up on the first and second lines last season and then the season prior, and his numbers were a bit inflated because of that.
I
19
agree.
goals, 27 assists, and 46 points last year.
Yeah, I agree.
My question is, I mean, I don't doubt it. Obviously, he did it, right? But I think the Flyers' standpoint here is they don't really believe he could do it from a third line role, or in that sense,
You
or
can't
second
really.
line role. Because you're not playing with the top best players anymore because Sean Couturier is there, and that's kind of why they
Yeah.
were hesitant on signing him and waited for so long and for some other contracts around the NHL to come out to kind of maybe base his
Money
contract
on.
more,
Yeah.
prove it deals because if he's almost a 20 goal scorer and did that for a couple of seasons, you would have definitely had to pay him a lot more. But where does that leave us now? Is my question with Morgan Frost. He's on the outs. We saw what happened with Kevin Hayes. That really wasn't a big, you know, John Tortorella, fan, and vice versa. John Tortorella really wasn't his biggest fan. And he even made it to an All-Star game, and he got the boot, right? So where does this leave us as far as things go? There was a link to Shane Pinto of Ottawa, but he just got suspended for gambling or something for a great number of games, and he's not going to be there. Um, you know, my assumption, and this probably won't happen, but where I would look to if I was Danny Briere and actually wanted to trade him right now would be to the Anaheim Ducks, and a player in a very similar situation right now with his coach is Trevor Zegras. He just got
That,
benched. He just got benched. Let me finish. He just got benched, and amazing offensive talent, a lot more money. But the Flyers do have a lot of cap space in waiting there with a certain defenseman that they're stuck paying for millions and millions of dollars. So
Lance,
I don't
I'll
know.
tell
Do
you
you
what,
do
man.
you go out there? Do you go out there and call some teams if you're gonna
You
do it? I
gotta
don't
call the
know.
teams. You gotta at least make the phone call. At least you gotta at least do your due diligence and make the phone call, and see what's out there. See what they could get. See who's. You
Right.
gotta dangle the line out there a little bit. You know what I mean? Here's kind of more of an issue I think here than what's going on here, and it's not just the Morgan Frost thing because I think it's going to be the Ristolainen thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because number one, Ristolainen now has missed every game this season, and he was they I he had a setback, quote unquote, right, with his recovery or whatever, and he was supposed to be coming back, and then he had a setback, so he's not coming back now. So is he going to need surgery or what? We don't even know what's going on here with him. Whatever. But if you notice, it's just like you pointed out multiple times in the show. Man, the defense is playing a lot better without him, and there's no you don't have those those Risto moments in the game where you go, ah, You know,
Right.
because he turns it over or he does something stupid. But
Yeah.
that is the one thing that sticks out like a sore thumb, is that Risto hasn't played and the defense hasn't skipped a beat. In fact, it's gotten better. Right, it's gotten better because the shot percentages have gone down, as far as that's concerned. You know what I mean? And clearly, goaltending percentages have gone up with the save percentage and the goals against average and things of that nature. All these things tie in. Here's the few things that, and we've been impressed by a lot of things with this Flyers team, including the PK, because now they're actually leading the league in shorthanded goals. Because they actually have some penalty killers out there now. Especially with Sean Couturier back and Cam Atkinson back, but those guys are big-time penalty killers. But the other side of that, as great as his team has been 5-on-5, as great as his team has been killing penalties, as great as his team has been putting up a good fight, holding Dallas, holding Vegas, blah, 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 blah. They're, 1 for 22 on the power play this year?
Mm-hmm.
Folks, let me tell you something here, okay? If this team expects to do any kind of anything this year, they need to get that power play on track, okay? To the tune of being at least middle of the road. Because when you get into those 2-1 games and the power play, and you're on the power play, and you need that goal to tie, and you can't put together you can't even, I don't get it. How is it that you can be on the PK, down a guy, and still skate the puck in and get set up? How can you be 5-on-5 and skate the puck in like you're supposed to, but yet, when you get on the penalty or the power play, you can't do it? What's going on? What am I missing here, Lance?
It's definitely frustrating.
Could it be Rocky? Oh, did I say that out loud? Yeah, the coach. When he was coaching for San Jose, the power play for San Jose was 13. No, it was 13.6%. He got to the Flyers. It's 14.2.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I never saw that from the start. Having a fighter, a career guy that was up and down the AHL to the NHL, played a couple games, got in some fights, threw some rough games, and then sent back down. That was his career.
In the league and everything, playing hockey.
How is he running a power play
I don't know.
when he's never physically been on one?
I mean,
you know what I mean?
Fighters, guys that spend 5 minutes in the box at a time. Usually, those are not the guys that are on the power play.
No, yeah, not the same there. I really don't know why they have this guy. I guess he's a Torts guy and he likes him, but I just don't see it. I don't know why they would have a guy like this in today's NHL sit there and I don't think he's played 25 NHL games ever, 0 goals, 0 points. Rocky Thompson we're talking about. So how's he supposed to tell somebody how to score on the power play when he's never scored in the NHL ever? I mean, granted, there's coaches that did not ever play in the NHL, but this guy's specialty was breaking somebody's nose, in a fight, and I'm all for that. But why is he coaching the power play? And there's some other questions. The Flyers did address a lot of managerial and coaching spot. They switched around a lot of stuff this offseason.
Medical, the medical group, the whole 9 yards.
A lot of things that we talked about previous seasons, and then I wrote articles on previous seasons. But this is one that I would think needs to be done. Why not have a guy? I don't want to go old Flyers and stuff like that, but why not why wouldn't you reach out to a guy like Mark Recchi, who I think is
Well,
in and out of coaching as well, or
no,
somebody like
he's
that?
now has a job now as an assistant coach, so you can't
Right,
call
and that's
Mark
what I'm
Recchi.
saying. Well, that's what I was saying. Like, why wouldn't you reach out at the time to a guy like that to run the power play for you instead of signing Rocky Thompson? At the time, Mark Recchi didn't have a job like
Well,
that.
yeah, I know.
So
Yeah.
now he does, and go figure. He's doing well. So
Hey, John,
I don't know.
Mister.
Somebody who scored a lot of power play goals
How
there.
about a guy they have in house? They brought in house a guy who scored
John
so
LeClaire,
many.
yeah.
Hello. How many power plays has that guy scored? You can't
Yeah.
tell me that he can't tell that guy how to put together a power play. I
Yeah.
think that's the major thing that needs to improve with this team is that power play. I think they've got good pace. I think they're starting to, you can see the team building the chemistry, right?
Mhm.
You can see, you know who else I've been really impressed with? And this is somebody else who was very maligned by us, is Travis Sanheim.
He has come into his own. Um, I like it. He's looking a little bit more physical. Like I've been, praying that he, gets to be a little bit more physical and stuff, and clears out little people, little guys in front of the net. Giving them a little stinky glove, and the scrummages in front of the net when they get too close to Carter Hart, like different stuff like that. Like that's what I want to see from you, not just poke checking somebody when they're skating right by you, an Ovechkin or somebody else. So maybe he'll start. I don't think he'll fully, but maybe he'll start to live up to some of his contract that seems a bit inflated at the time he signed it.
Exactly.
Um,
That's why I wanted to point that out because I've been very impressed with. I mean, he stuck around for a little while. He modeled his training after what the Flyers do. He was in constant contact with the Flyers over the summer. He bulked up. He put on some weight. You could tell. I mean, when you're a 6'5" guy and you weigh 170 pounds, you don't really have a lot of weight to throw around. But when you're 6'5" and you weigh 200 pounds, you got some weight to throw around, right? You can clear the front of the porch out now because you can stand there and take care of business, right? Which is what we're starting to see from Sanheim, which is what you asked, and that's what we prayed. That, hey, maybe Sanheim will, and he actually is, right? He's actually coming into his contract a little bit. It's still very much inflated. Let's not pull the wool over anybody's eyes here. He's getting way
right.
overpaid, but been impressed with the fact that he came out with his game intact and put on some weight, bulked up. I mean, all right.
all the things we've been saying, right? That he needs to do. So,
Imagine that.
um, yeah, imagine that. Hey, yeah, Mark Recchi, 19th all time in power play goals with 200. Even Jeremy Roenick, what's he doing right now? Playing golf. 184 power play
Well,
goals in his career, but he's
yeah.
a he's a bit of a mouth and stuff. He's a
I
little
don't
bit.
think he's gonna. Yeah, no.
I don't know how he would work with John Tortorella. Yeah, they might butt heads. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, anyway, but for sure, like all over, you're seeing this team look more defensively responsible. The offense will get going as it has. The guys, some of the other guys will jump on suit, I think, with the Bobby Brinks and stuff. It's only a matter of
It's
time.
time, yeah. And
It's only a matter of time before he does.
once it does, I think you'll see the floodgates. I think once you see Forrester and Brink crack that first couple goals, I think you'll see the floodgates. Because now suddenly they'll be on click.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at, Forrester hasn't scored yet. Bobby Brink. Owen Tippett hasn't scored yet. Scott Lawton hasn't even scored yet.
I
So
know.
most of the offense have come from, like four guys in a sense, scoring wise. So hopefully we can get some secondary scoring
I
going.
think we're
Switching switching up some of that maybe second and third line guys. I wouldn't mess with the first line. I wouldn't mess with the fourth line. But
Right.
maybe a player here, a player there, switching around to see if they can,
Just
you know,
yeah.
I don't want to mess with the chemistry, but if it continues on in a couple of games time, I would say maybe
See
move
if we
around and
can.
see if other guys have better chemistry together there. I don't know.
Good way to go. Good way to go. But you're right. I wouldn't touch the first line. I wouldn't touch the fourth line. I think that fourth line's going to stay unless somebody gets hurt.
Yeah.
Knock on wood on that one for sure. So you said you have a fresh one. Fresh
Brewing, let's say
fresh one
brewing. Yeah.
brewing. All right.
Yeah.
Have you added the hops yet? Is the mash in? I mean, is it fermenting yet? What do
Oh,
you got?
it's all like right here. It just needs
Oh,
to. I
so,
just need time to sit down and write it.
okay.
It'll come out,
There you go.
real
So
quick
it's
and fast.
fermenting. So it's
Yeah,
fermenting up there then, right? Okay, we'll
for
take
sure. It's been building for a
that.
while.
Yeah, man, for sure. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, man. We got some great things that we talked about here with the Flyers. I think this team has been impressive. There's been a lot of things that we find that we've talked about ad nauseum over the last 2 years, and finally they're starting to do some of those things that we're talking about. And hey, look at the results. Gosh, what do you know? The NHL is nothing but results-driven team. I also want to say one little thing here too. I want to shout this out here real quick. I really enjoyed what the channels did the other night with all 17 games being played and the amount of coverage that was out there. I was very impressed by that amount of coverage. I like the fact that a lot of the local broadcasters that were calling the games were left to do so, and then they just had the main people just kind of kicking back and just doing the whole thing for all of the games.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And so I am a huge proponent, obviously, because of, Jimmy, but I'm a huge proponent in letting the local guys do the local broadcasts for the games, whether they're nationally televised or not. Okay? There's just too many bad commentators out there. There's just too much horribleness out there. People that should just not be talking. Okay? Like, I'll give you an example, right? Perfect example was the game tonight. I had to turn on Saunders and Fridge, right? Because I can't handle the commentators. I can't, right? So I got to listen to Saunders and Fridge. You know what I'm saying? So shout out.
That's not too bad. Yeah, that's not
Right,
too
so
bad. If you don't
shout
have
out
no
to
listen to it.
Saunders and Fridge, man, because you guys do all right, man. All right. We're good. So,
Well,
but we're
as we're talking
spoiled
still
though.
too. Yeah, for sure. As we've been talking though, one of those players that we just said needs to, find that goal lamp. Bobby Brink just scored, so good deal. Now he's had some assists, but
The seal has been broken.
yep, yep. So now
Oh
he's
boy, oh
got his
boy.
first goal. I really like what he's doing on that line. I really think he is getting back to, and that's the biggest difference between him and Morgan Frost on that wing when he plays wing. I
Agreed.
think he's a lot more elusive. He's
Yeah,
not scared to take a check when it comes, as Morgan Frost has been in the past.
I'm
He
not afraid to
doesn't.
get into the dirty areas neither.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Morgan Frost isn't as elusive. He usually is trying to carry the puck, and he's not necessarily the best at it. So it a lot of times comes over turnovers. And Brink is just that guy that will disappear while on the ice and reappear right in the front of the net and jam home a nice rebound, or pass a perfect pass right to an open guy that's sitting there ready to unwind. So
I'm with you.
that type of offense ability to be able to disappear when he's Bobby Brink's a lot smaller too than
Yeah,
Frost, but
it's all
you know
right.
that elusiveness is what I think is playing Bobby Brink's advantage right now, and guys just
Awesome.
can't seem to pick him up on the ice.
I'm
He's
telling you.
he's just skating circles around him and reappearing. So kudos to Bobby Brink. I'm happy he was able to get it going. He
Awesome.
didn't have the greatest season with the Phantoms last year. I think he was a little disappointed in
Well, I
himself.
think it
So
was because of the fact that he was hurt for a good
for
portion of
sure,
that. He had
for sure,
major hip surgery, I think it was, or something like
yeah.
that. So I mean,
Takes a while to come back from that for sure,
exactly,
100%. So now he looks 100% again, and yeah,
proving it. You
I'm
know,
excited. I'm excited. So
me too.
all right, still,
Awesome.
well, I think we had a good show there.
Yeah, man. I think we did. I think we did. First of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to Spreaker for all your help in getting the Hockey Writers Inc. podcast to all of you great listeners out there. All you have to do is go to your favorite podcasting platform, from Google to iHeart to Spotify. Type in Hockey Writers Inc. And when we come up, you just give us a 5-star rating, which thank you for doing that. Getting us ranked in the top 15 of all Flyers podcasts, putting us at number 11. So big, huge thank yous for that, and getting us ranked out there like that. That just goes to show you that, we do speak the truth here, and we do have the facts, and we do want to see these Flyers win. So thank you very much for that. Really appreciate that. Lance, the editor-in-chief, the writer extraordinaire, the guardian of the blue paint turned writer, man, thank you for all that you do, all the articles that you put out, man, everything that you do. It's part of why we do this, is because of all the great stuff that you put out, Lance. So thank you very much for that, man. Really appreciate that. So be looking for
Appreciate it.
some, yeah, man. Be looking for some good Prospect Watch stuff coming up. Also be looking for articles from Lance coming out here real soon too. You know what I mean? So lots of good fun stuff. Go to SteelFlyers.com. Check out all the great stuff with the SteelFlyers All Sports Network, from the SteelFlyers podcast to the Hockey Writers Inc. to the Prospect Watch, as well. So check that out. You can check out Lance at...
Yeah, you can always check my things out, of course, on SteelFlyers.com, but on Twitter at Lance.Green. 39, and you can always find my stuff and all of our coverage on different Flyers fan sites and stuff on Facebook pages as well. We're pretty
Yeah,
much
man.
on all of them, and we'll communicate with you guys on that, the Twitter as well.
Yeah, man.
We like to hear from you, so hit us up.
For sure, for sure. Thank you, Lance, for all that you do, and thank you for all you folks out there. We really appreciate that. We'll catch you guys all on the next episode of the Hockey Writers Inc.